This is Six Tackles with Gus, with Mathew Thompson and Gus Gould.
Hello, welcome to a special edition of Six Tackles with Gus, a massive preview of Origin, both men's and women's. How exciting. You can watch all the action exclusively live and free on 9 and 9 now. Gus with his Origin predictions, where the game will be won and lost. What sort of a game might it be? Welcome, Gus.
Mathew Thompson, how are you doing?
All right.
I love our new microphones.
Yes, I know. I feel like Elvis Presley.
Yes, very good.
I won't break into song. Vale Rob Burrow. How sad and emotional has it been to see the English Rugby League great, who has fought a very public and stoic battle with the treacherous motor neurone disease. He passed away earlier in the week. There's been universal tributes to him. I can't remember someone, Gus. I mean, there are a lot of people that suffer from terrible issues medically and use that for the betterment of society, but he has been just a giant to raise millions of dollars in research into motor neurone disease and set up care facilities and stuff across the UK. So moving. Just a terrible loss, not just to rugby league, but to society.
Yeah, I never got to meet Rob Burrows, but obviously saw a lot of him playing football. He was a very talented player, a very gifted player for a long period of time, very popular player. And unfortunately stricken with this disease, which happens to a lot of people in life, unfortunately, but Rob was able to use his profile and popularity to raise awareness for the illness and raise awareness and funds, as you say, for the research into hopefully one day finding a cure for it. The humility and the courage that he showed during this period and the selflessness to put he and his family in the public eye throughout his obvious natural deterioration was incredible. The support that he had showed that he was loved and admired by many, many people, but he went out of his way, he and his family went out of the way to continue to put this in the public arena so that others down the track may benefit. He knew his fate a long time ago, but still put himself out there in the public eye, and the people who supported him around that, it was quite moving. It was, we've watched it from a distance, and as I said on 100% Football the other night, the pain for Rob Burrows is now past, but his legacy will not, and let's hope it's all, and I'm sure it has, it's going to make a big difference down the track to a lot of people.
Let's start talking some Origin footy. It's 24 hours away now.
Yes! No.
That's the rule.
No. Dear.
If you were going to break into song, by the way, what would you sing with this microphone in front of you?
If I was going to break into song, a bit of Kenny Rogers, The Gambler,
The
or
Gambler.
something like that. A little bit of Billy Joel.
Oh, Billy Joel.
Yep.
Love the Piano Man. David Gillespie, he was the Piano Man, wasn't he, in Origin camp?
Had no singing ability whatsoever, David Gillespie.
But loved it.
None, but he could stand around a piano bar and be entertained.
Well, this is a pretty obvious question. Statistically, we know the answer, but winner of Game 1 tomorrow night wins the series.
No, I think the winner of Game 2 wins the series. I think the winner of the Melbourne game wins the series. That's my prediction. Whoever wins in Melbourne will win the series. I think for New South Wales, they can't afford to lose Game 1. Queensland can, but I don't think New South Wales can afford to lose Game 1. I would hate to be going to Brisbane for a decider because our record up there in those types of games is poor. So I think we need to win this one, and then we get a free roll in Melbourne, and still with the decider up our sleeve, I suppose. But I think for New South Wales' best chance of winning the series, they need to win Games 1 and 2. You don't want to be going to Queensland for a decider, and you certainly don't want to be going to Queensland 2 down in the series. That would be a disaster. So I think there's a lot more pressure on New South Wales in Game 1 than Queensland. Queensland probably come down here with the free roll. They'll give it their best shot, and they'll be obviously out to win. They'll be out to get the victory, but they still know that they've got Queensland up their sleeve, and I think the winner of Melbourne will win the series.
New South Wales have lost the last 3 series openers in Sydney.
And that's not good.
Pretty damning statistic. And Queensland have won 4 of the last 5 series openers. So I would think that's been addressed within the New South Wales camp. I can't imagine they're going to be slow out of the blocks again this series.
Yeah, 1994, which was the miracle try in Game 1, the Mark Coyne miracle try. It was the first time that New South Wales lost Game 1 of the series and went on to win the series. People don't realise the miracle try series, New South Wales won. And they won it by winning Game 2 in Melbourne and then going to Lang Park and winning a decider at Lang Park. They were the first team to ever win a decider at Lang Park. First New South Wales team to lose Game 1 and win the series. And it was the first game at the MCG. That was the big crowd that year, 100,000 or so. And they probably go to Melbourne and win. And I said at the start of the series, whoever wins in Melbourne will win the series. I didn't think we'd have to win a decider at Lang Park to do it, but sort of hoping we'd win Game 1. And we had Game 1 won until that Mark Coyne scored that try.
That pesky Mark Coyne.
Pesky Mark Coyne, who lives next door to me, and he's got his maroon flag up flapping in the wind.
Oh, has he turned into a lunatic already?
Off goes the head, on goes the pump. Same with all Queenslanders.
Yeah.
They're all very difficult to deal with at this time of year. All very difficult to deal with, Queenslanders. They're nice people. I love Queenslanders. I just can't stand them for this 6 weeks of the year.
I think the feeling's mutual, Gus. Neither team will score more than 20 points tomorrow night.
No. No, I think that these two teams will produce a brilliant game of rugby league. I can see at least one of the teams scoring 20 points. Game 1s are usually pretty tight, but I've just got a feeling the way this competition has gone this year, the way it's been refereed, the movement of the ball, and even allowing for a damp service, I think these two teams will find a way to accumulate points.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to need 4 tries to win.
Okay.
So I think someone will be scoring 20 points.
The Edwards-Tedesco issue has been a blessing to Nicho Hynes.
No. Who framed that question?
Me.
And what's the point you're making?
It's taken the attention off the rookie halfback.
Oh, you're saying from a media perspective?
Yeah, he's able, it's deflected attention from him and he can just go and do his thing.
Yeah, well, I'm quite sure he's not reading the media either way. The pressure that will mount on Nicho Hynes here, I think, will be self-inflicted. I think he'll be putting a lot of pressure on himself. He comes into this series under an injury cloud. He also comes into it, funny enough, under a little bit of a form cloud. Because his last 2 games for the Sharks haven't gone really well, and it's his first job in the number 7 jersey. It's a big ask. It's a real challenge for him. 3 weeks ago, I say he couldn't have been in better form to do it. That night at Penrith, where they sort of got to him in the first 20 minutes, and then he didn't finish the rest of the game. Hasn't played since. He's had this injury. He hasn't trained in the first couple of sessions. I understand what you're saying, taking the media pressure off him, but there's no media pressure once you're in camp. You're not listening to or talking about the media anyway. No one's watching news services, no one's reading papers, no one's worrying about social media. They're just in there getting ready for the game. So, it could be World War IV out here and the players in there wouldn't even know about it. They're in their cocoon and they're getting ready for the contest. Nicho Hynes will be a player under pressure. He will be a player and he feels the pressure. So it's a real challenge for him. We're all cheering for him, absolutely cheering for him. I hope it goes well for him.
Yeah. Entering his 10th series, 10th, amazing. Daly Cherry-Evans deserves to be considered a great of Queensland.
Absolutely. What else do you have to do to qualify? A marvel, absolute marvel. And particularly still going around at this competitive level, at this elite level, at his age and the contributions that he's made is quite remarkable. He's an absolute credit to himself. He's a credit to the game. And he will still have influence on this result. He's lost his partner in Cameron Munster. When I think of Queensland, if I'm thinking about, possible results and scenarios and thinking, Queensland, if they're going to win, where will they win it? I keep getting visions of Cameron Munster. He's not going to be there. That has me a lot more optimistic about the Blues' chances in this game. Tommy Dearden, great young player, but he's still at the embryo stage of his representative career. It's going to be plenty of pressure on him, and New South Wales will apply pressure there. So it's going to be up to Daly Cherry-Evans to make sure Queensland get on the front foot. He'll be ably assisted, having Ben Hunt there at hooker, and obviously Harry Grant when he comes from the bench. And, he's got a young fullback, Reece Walsh, who is an absolute superstar, will be a superstar of Origin for a long time. But there's going to be some speed bumps along the way. There's going to be some days where he gets some things wrong. So, Daly Cherry-Evans his leadership and direction is going to be crucial for Queensland. And I think they miss a big X factor, a monumental X factor in Cameron Munster. So more pressure on Daly Cherry-Evans. But to answer your question, yes, he is a Queensland great. No risk, no matter what happens with this series.
He's captain Queensland, the fourth most. On the fourth most occasions, so that puts him in rarefied air. It's a nice segue. We'll look at the Queensland team first, I've thought. Victorious in the last two series. They come into the 2024 campaign with 24 series wins. That is 8 more than New South Wales, Gus. That is the greatest margin that Origin football has seen between the states. It's happened once before, a gulf of 8 series. So really, in the record books, they are as dominant as they've ever been. 5 changes to the lineup from the loss in Game 3 last year. Walsh comes back. He missed that game through injury. We've mentioned Dearden. Jaden Sewer back in the lineup for the first time in 3 years. Jermaine Hopgood a debut. And Selwyn Cobbo comes onto the bench. But aside from Munster, no Kalen Ponga, no Tino Fa'asuamaleaui. What about to start our look at Queensland? Just an overall thought on the makeup of their team.
Well, I said this last week. It's a typical-looking Queensland team. There is a DNA about Queensland Rugby League. No nonsense, hard-working forwards, creative, experience in the halves, and brilliant athleticism out wide. The people that can finish tries off or score tries from seemingly impossible situations. And this X factor at the back, Reece Walsh. He follows in the footsteps of your Darren Lockyers and your Billy Slaters and these types of players over the years that have been a real key figure in Queensland's success. And Reece Walsh, even though still young, has shown us excitement in the game of rugby league. He's unique. He's a little bit in his own realm in that department. He can create opportunities from anywhere. He can also make mistakes at this stage of his career. He can get a little bit impetuous. He can get a little bit impatient. He can try the impossible, and it's come against him a couple of times. But I think for his sake, and even the Broncos, I think for Reece Walsh's sake, to have this time in camp with Billy Slater, I think is going to be tremendous for him. I really do. I think he'll be a completely different player at the back end of this series if he's willing to sit and be mentored by his coach and listens to what his coach has to say. And I think the last thing that Billy Slater will do is try to temper that exuberance and that enthusiasm. I think he'll encourage him to play to his strengths. I can't remember where I saw it, but I was listening to an interview with Billy Slater recently, and they talk about players wanting to improve. And he said people, when they're looking at improvement, people talk about their weaknesses, improving their weaknesses or eradicating their weaknesses. He said, I come from a position of your strengths. How can we improve on your strengths? How can we make your strengths an asset to the team, and how can you embellish upon that to be even better than where you are? And it's pretty much how Billy played his game. Billy had certain strengths to his game, and he played to it all the time, and he got the team to play to his strengths. He got his ball players to play to his strengths, and he played to the strengths of his teammates, knowing who to support, where to run, where to be. He was quite an exceptional player, and Reece Walsh, I think, has the potential to be an absolute superstar. In your likes of Xavier Coates and Talangi on the wing, they're two great finishers, they're good defenders, they're kick targets, they're good with defensively to the high kick and also in attack. And Valentine Holmes is a freakish player. The number of freakish things he does in pressure situations in games is extraordinary. He really is a player that would be a thorn in the side of New South Wales and would be keeping the coach awake all week. Valentine Holmes is a very difficult player to contain, and the ball just seems to bounce for him. The sheer speed of Hamiso frightens everyone, and what that can do for a team, for them, whether it be chasing kicks or broken field play or getting offloads or supporting half breaks. Hamiso has the ability to create something out of nothing just through sheer speed, and that speed intimidates. It can intimidate your defensive line so that inside they make poor decisions, which will open the way for a Dearden or it'll open the way for a Reece Walsh because you over speculate on what Hamiso's about to do. So I think both Valentine Holmes and Hamiso create enough distraction for the New South Wales defence that the halves can use that to their advantage, and so too can Reece Walsh at the back. The forward pack, I mean, it's just hard working. It really is. Pat Carrigan, he'll play the 80 minutes, I'd imagine, in that position, and he's strong. And Reuben Cotter has redefined front rower play, particularly at this level of football. I mean, he's not an overly big man in stature, but big performance. Lindsay Collins has grown in the Origin arena and developed as a player virtually before our eyes in that maroon jersey. Ben Hunt, such a seasoned campaigner, provides good depth from the bench once he goes back to the bench and Harry Grant comes on. And Jeremiah Nanai is a try scorer. He's got some issues in defence, and we'll talk a little bit about New South Wales and where they might attack. But there is a little avenue and a little corridor there around Daly Cherry-Evans and Jeremiah Nanai that I think will be exploited. And if you have Valentine Holmes playing on that side of the field, and I assume Hamiso will play left and Valentine plays right, Valentine plays left for the Cowboys, so he's a little bit out of position. Daly Cherry-Evans alongside him, and then Jeremiah Nanai inside him. That's a corridor that I think can be exploited by New South Wales.
What do you see in Nanai's defence that is a window of opportunity for the Blues?
He's still young. His decision-making and his first contact, and that's a maturity thing that will come in time, but he's still young as a footballer, and it's still in the early stages of his career, and he does make some mistakes. He does make some misreads, and he makes some missed tackles, and if he's also being entrusted with the role of protecting Daly Cherry-Evans, where they know a lot of traffic will be coming, he's not only having to do his role, he's having to do Daly Cherry-Evans, the protector role there as well. And sometimes they can overread and underread that obligation as well. So they're just opportunities that I think New South Wales will be able to target, and they'll certainly be doing that. Queensland will know that'll coming though. They'll be planned for that.
What about Sewer on the other side, back after a long absence from Origin?
Yeah, well, a couple of years ago I said he was the most improved player in the game when he was playing at South Sydney under, I think it was under Bennett at the time. He was the most improved player, back rower in the game. And he's, not that his form's, been any worse of recent times, but he's probably played with a struggling side there at the Dragons, and it's a good sign that he's re-signed with the club, so he seems settled. I think his recent form has been very good. He's a typical Queensland Origin back rower, a bullocking, strong, tough carry. He can play like a front row forward. He can run like a centre. He's got the ability to offload. He's a physical specimen. Like, he's a beast of a man, and he's very intimidating. And I think that he'll be putting a lot of pressure on Jerome Luai on that side of the field in particular. They'll be running a lot of traffic at Jerome, trying to get his tackle count up and wear down his effectiveness in attack. So there's little games within a game that'll be playing. We're talking about Queensland here, so it's a good, hard-working forward pack. And then, of course, off the bench, you've got Harry Grant. Well, we know the impact that he has coming off the bench and how he can be a game breaker out of that dummy half position once Ben Hunt has got through the bullocking start early in the game. Mo Fatawaker. He's a great ball runner and he's a good defender. He'll just come into the middle and do his job. He'll be replacing Cotter and Collins around the middle there. Jermaine Hopgood's the interesting one. Thoroughly deserves his position there, a proud Queenslander. Comes into the side. He's the best offloader in the game. Whether he will temper that in Origin or whether or not Billy Slater will encourage that. These games are so closely fought, and there's very little between the two teams at times, particularly in Sydney where it's a little damp and a little slippery, and your opportunities with the ball. There's only so many attacking sets of six in the game. If the game goes to the way we think, and it's played like club football is of the day, there's a lot of 5 up for a kick, 5 up for a kick, 5 up for a kick, 5 up for a kick. You go through these massive cycles of just getting the ball to the other end of the field and defending and not giving away a penalty. And then all of a sudden you'll get a half break or a penalty, or someone will drop the ball and then things change, 40-20, forcing a line drop out, and then all of a sudden you go into a different mode of play. When they do that, Jermaine Hopgood is a game breaker. He's a player who can come up with an offload that could make the difference to bring to light Cherry-Evans or Grant or Reece Walsh.
In fatigue as well?
Absolutely, yeah. He's, now it can also go awry, a young fella and playing in Origin and, and if his first offload goes to a blue jersey or falls on the ground and there's they lose possession, well, that can eat away at his confidence as well. But I think he'll be encouraged to be his own natural self. I think it's an asset in his game that he's got this offloading ability. He just has the ability to get in between people, to remove his arms and get the pass away, and he's always very controlled with it. And I can just see it when New South Wales is tired, fatigued, and all of a sudden Hopgood goes to the line, he just pops it back and he's in the hands of Grant, and there's Reece Walsh alongside of him and there's Cherry-Evans alongside him. That's when the game can break open. There's just those little moments within the game that New South Wales needs to be prepared for, and depending on which forward pack is out there for New South Wales at the time, whether or not they're able to accommodate that. If there's a lot of second phase for the Queenslanders, I'm a little worried about containing them. The big focus for New South Wales is not to allow second phase play. And to be very mindful of just how damaging it can be. So I'm sure that'll be a focus for them too. And Selwyn Cobbo, well, we've talked at length about having a back on the bench. There are plenty of Queenslanders that don't like the selection. There are plenty of Origin aficionados who look at this and say, no, that's a no-no. I don't mind it. The current trends say that you need to have coverage on the bench for an outside back. But I also think there'll be a role for Selwyn Cobbo, even if he doesn't get onto the field as an outside back. I think they'll be willing to throw him into the action at lock forward at some stage, depending on if they need points. I don't think he'd be out there if they're in front, but I think if they need points back in the game to win, and it's going down to the wire, then I think you'll see Selwyn Cobbo around the middle of the field in that sort of role. So
totally different to what he's used to.
Yeah, it's a typical Queensland team. There is a no-nonsense part about it. There is an experience part about it. Your Cherry-Evans and your Ben Hunt and this sort of thing. Then there is the X-factor part about it with your Harry Grant and your Reece Walsh, your Xavier Coates, your Hamiso Tabuai-Fadai. They've probably got more X-factor and more game breaker about them than when I look through the New South Wales side. This is a side that I'm thinking Queensland will believe can play it both ways. They can play the tough kick reception, complete your sets of six, cycle football, and then they can break free of that with some X-factor input from some of these great players. On the surface of things, they've got more X-factor in them than New South Wales. I think that's a real problem when you get to Queensland. I think that's a real problem when you get up on that drier surface and harder surface there at Lang Park, if that's the way it is when we get there, or Suncorp Stadium, or whatever we call it.
Or even the MCG.
Here in Sydney, sometimes that can be tempered, but the kicking game, the short attacking kicking game of a Cherry-Evans or even a Ben Hunt out of dummy half or even a Harry Grant out of dummy half can also bring these players. They're so instinctive, your likes of Coates and Holmes and Hamiso in chasing little kicks. Reece Walsh is he's all X-factor. He's the definition of X-factor. Anything could happen with him.
Can I just on the bench, and your philosophy with the bench is obviously well noted. And just looking at that Queensland bench, there's two out-and-out forwards there, Fodawaker, Hopgood. Grant's exclusively a dummy half and Cobbo the utility back. Now, if they were to suffer an injury in the pack, do you see that being a bit of a bolt from the blue with respect they've only got two middles on the bench?
No, because I think they're all 80-minute players. I think every one of these Queenslander players, if asked, if something happens on the night and, after 10 minutes you run out to six of them and say, look, you're it, you're not coming off, you're it, I think they've got people there that can do it. Even the fellas coming from the bench, I don't think it would worry Fodawaker and I don't think it would worry Hopgood. Certainly won't worry Harry Grant. Which is why I've talked about the benches that I used to pick. I used to like 80-minute players on the bench. I didn't like interchange players or people who made their career out of being interchange players on the bench. Now, pretty much all front row forwards in the game these days spend time on the interchange bench, but there are some that can go the distance. There are some that can't go the different distance. They become quite a liability if they're out there for more than 20 minutes. Some are used in even shorter stints than that. New South Wales has got one of those on their bench. No, I think the six forwards and even Ben Hunt can play lock forward if they had to. So I think they're well covered. Certainly there's nothing there that 17 for Queensland can't cover. there's not one injury there that I don't think they can cover. Ben Hunt covers so much. Fatawaker and Hopgood, all the forwards I think are 80-minute players or could be 80-minute players on demand. And Selwyn Cobbo covers every other position in the back line.
Crikey, you're wrapping them up. My goodness.
Well, it's a really well-selected team. It's a well-selected team. It's the risk, if the game doesn't go that way and, it could end up you needed 4 forwards on the bench. Well, that's a gamble they've taken. But they've chosen to cover for a Selwyn Cobbo. So if we get a HIA or an injury to one of these outside backs, they're well served. When you look at the Blues side, if we get an injury in the halves or we get an injury in the outside backs, we're making it up.
Well, let's move to New South Wales. They've won 4 of the last 5 Origin games played at Accor Stadium, but amongst those has been a couple of dead rubbers. The team winning game 1 has won 31 of 42 series, so nearly 74%. 5 players on debut, the most since game 1 2019. Joseph Swiley, Isaac Lomax, Cameron McInnes, Somali Olakawatu, Spencer Leniu. Jake Trebojevic becomes the 21st captain of New South Wales. And the third from Manly after Max Krilich and Jeff Tuvey. And, of course, Michael Maguire gets his first taste of Origin football as a player or a coach, becomes the 16th coach of New South Wales. Is this... just having a look at the New South Wales, and we sort of touched on this when we spoke last week, but the more I think about it, this looks like a New South Wales team that's prepared to get in the trenches. They're gonna. It's trench warfare. Yeah, it's not a bells and whistles New South Wales team.
This is how it's been selected. That's been the philosophy around the selection of the team. It has been statistical output week in, week out. Reliable statistical output in both attack and defence, off the ball and with the ball. A team that will be hoping that it can grind its way to victory. No matter what Queensland throws at it, that it will be able to sustain itself, and then it will rely on a couple of people to get the points. They're not so much. It's not a team that's built around scoring a lot of points.
No.
It's a team built around stopping points and keeping in the grind and getting the better of them late, which game 1 tends to be a lot. I know we've had all games can be a surprise, but...
And the conditions, too, at Accor, traditionally slippery, but there's a lot of rain in the last week in Sydney. Now, I don't think there's rain forecast for... Certainly today it's a nice day, and tomorrow I think is the same. But...
A little bit
tomorrow.
Yeah.
For tomorrow, but that doesn't drain all that well, that surface. So this is going to be a sticky surface.
It's slippery without rain.
Yeah,
it's we're due and everything. We're playing at 8 o'clock at night, so it's by the time we're finished, it's 9:30, 9:45. So there'll be a dew there. There's no risk about that. But there will be moisture around tomorrow, and we will have a damp surface. And there are a number of debut players in this team. It's a new look team. We spoke about the fact that New South Wales won Game 3 last year quite emphatically, 24-10. It's a dead rubber, but it's still a win. There have been 12 changes to the 18 players they selected for that game, so it's a big change from that period. The series last year went against New South Wales. It was a funny sort of series because they lost the first 10 minutes of the series, if you remember, down there in Adelaide. Queensland jumped out to a 10-0 lead. For the next 55 minutes, New South Wales were all over them and came back to lead them comfortably, and it looked like they were going to go on with it. And then Queensland, as they do, just won the last 10 minutes again and got the victory. Then Game 2 just blew up in their face from the time Trebojevic went off and Damien Cook ended up in the back row, and they'd lost Nathan Cleary, and they just didn't. They looked clunky, and Queensland took full advantage of that at home. That's why you don't want to be going there for a decider, because they're so deadly at home. Game 3, when it came down to Sydney, New South Wales handled them very, very comfortably. So probably New South Wales during the whole series was the better side for the majority of it, yet lost the series. That's just how it works sometimes.
Gee, that's going to upset him.
Who?
That's going to upset the Queenslanders.
I've been upsetting Queensland for a long time.
You got a PhD in upsetting Queensland.
Well, no, if I was looking at it from a coaching perspective, and you can't look. All they write down on the field is who won. You can analyse it all you like and come up with all the excuses you like, but it was a series that really got away for New South Wales, because I thought for long periods of it in Game 1, and certainly for most of Game 3, they were clearly dominant. And things just went against them in Game 2. It was just they kind of just spiralled from them. I think that losing the Game 1 in Adelaide, they lost They lost that series in the first 10 minutes of the series.
Yeah, well, that's why that first game series opener stats looms large. They've won one of the last 5.
Yeah, well, everyone says that. They've won, what have they won? 30 of them. But that's mathematics.
But it's a trend.
No, it's mathematics. If it's a 50-50 contest and game 1 is given, then the next 2 games...
No, so I'm talking about the first game of the series. They've had a bad record in series openers.
What I'm saying is, like people saying you must win the first game of the series because they win...
Yeah, of course.
3 out of 4. Well, that's mathematics. It has to be mathematics. The team that wins the first series is obviously going to win. Worst game is going to obviously win more. That's just mathematics. But this is crucial for New South Wales. I don't think New South Wales can win the series if they lose a game 1.
Yes.
Queensland can win the series if they lose game 1.
Of course.
So the pressure is on New South Wales.
So that's my next question. How in club football we often see there is a siege mentality can take a team a long way. Does that translate to Origin?
Absolutely. I think this is a team on siege mentality. I think this is the coach. I think the coach is a siege mentality coach.
Yeah.
I think that's what he is. I think he's one that, this is a bloke that gets up in the 4 in the morning and trains himself and punches himself in the gym and does all those sorts of... He likes hard people. He likes people that that he can rely upon, and that's how he's chosen his team. Cameron McGuinness at this stage of his career, Jake Tavoyevich as his captain, Reece Robson from the Cowboys. He's gone for these sort of players, and then off the bench, and I'm a little surprised Yo's on the bench. He's gone for 4 forwards.
Yeah.
So this is all-out assault on the advantage line and busting through these Queenslanders and putting pressure on the edge players. And I don't think we're going to see anything too flamboyant. The only X factor here in the New South Wales side that I can see is Jerome Luai. He's the X factor, all right, that we've got, potentially. But we're going to have to grind our way to a victory. We're not going to overwhelm the Maroons with ball movement and class and attacking flair. We're not going to do that. We're going to grind our way for victory by the look of this. The key will be how Jerome, Luai and Hynes accommodate. And Jerome's very, very good at accommodating his halfback partner. He plays the game that suits his halfback. He can play a different game without Nathan Cleary, but he plays the game that suits his team when Nathan Cleary is playing. Nicho Hynes is a perfect fit for the Sharks in what he does there. It's whether or not he can be a perfect fit for New South Wales in the style of play that he does. He's not going to get the time and space he gets in club football. He's not going to be able to gallop over the advantage line like he does in club football. He's not going to be able to slide across field and have defenders make poor decisions like it happens in club football. They're not going to be able to read him on the first night playing with him, in Origin football. So if Nicho Hynes plays his natural game, whether or not that's actually going to suit New South Wales and whether or not he's going to be able to get his type of game on, I think what's important here is, and one of the reasons I think Yo's on the bench, is because last year Queensland were very good at closing down Yo as a first receiving lock forward who played like a halfback. They kind of accommodated that really well. So I think what the coach has done here is he said he wants Hynes and Luai to have the ball. He doesn't want his forwards being ball players or them getting the ball off the... I hope so anyway. I hope in this game we don't see forwards going to the line, throwing it back to the halfback.
Yeah.
I think Nicho Hynes is best when he's getting first think with the ball, when he gets first opportunity with the ball. He comes onto the ball, he likes to gallop over the advantage line, then he veers across field, and then he uses his decoy runners or he uses his hole runners, and he likes to create space on the edge. He likes to put the edge in 2 minds. You don't get that time and space in Origin to do that all the time. The opportunities for do that are going to be rare. Against Penrith the other night at Shark Park, they put a lot of pressure on his kicking game earlier. I think he kicked out on the full once. Twice he just... and it sort of ate away at his confidence. And I think we've seen in the past that his confidence can be shaken a little bit. And in these types of situations, this tightness of this game and the physicality of this game, I can see them running a lot of traffic at him.
Are you concerned about him in this environment?
No, I want him to come through it. I want him to come through it. We're supporting him. I want him to come through it. But everyone, he's got to do it for himself. There's only one person that can do it for him. His team's got to support him. So And what worried me too is that if he didn't train those first few sessions, every session you have in Origin is vital. Like the combination that he's going to have with Liam Martin on the right and Angus Crichton on the left, and then Nola Kawatu when he comes on, when a Hudson Young when he comes on. How much time have they been able to put into that combination? How much time have they been able to put into Jerome Luai coming around to the right to feed him, or him, like in the club teams, the half and the 5'8" play left and right. So if they play the long side of the field on the right, Nicho Hynes will push out and the 5'8" will come around and play first receiver. But with Nicho, he likes to be first receiver and the 5'8" run right around and be outside him. Well, Jerome doesn't do a lot of that in his club football, so I'll be interested to see how they link up as well. And it's why I think Dylan Edwards got the nod. One of the reasons he got the nod was because of his knowledge of Jerome Luai and how he plays the game and where he gets to. So, what part James Tedesco plays in that on 2 days preparation will be interesting as well.
Just before you get away from the halves and the kicking game.
Yep.
So I'm looking through this Queensland team. Walsh is a general kicker. Cherry-Evans is a master. Hunt can kick from dummy half. Grant's a 40-20 expert coming at a dummy half. Gee, it's pressure on Nicho. I mean, he is their general kicker.
We don't have as many options. Jerome Luai is a great kicker.
Yeah.
He is a great kicker. Now, whether or not they'll take the gamble to take the pressure away from Nicho Hynes early, I can see some balls coming back to the left and chasing down that side of the field. But that's up to the coach and the players. But the last thing you want to be doing is going into an Origin game thinking you've got to protect one of your players. There's nowhere to hide out there. You're here for a reason. You're here to do a job. You're going to have to stand up and do your job. So I can only assume that Nicho Hynes will play the 7 role. I don't think they'll stand a forward in his way. I don't think that he'll be getting the ball off forwards. I think that he'll be getting first thought of the ball and then Jerome Luai working around him, whether it's left side of the field or right side of the field, and Tedesco's got to chime in with that. I'm a little worried about our attack, other than blasting through holes, and that's going to be our strength. So whether it's Liam Martin on the edge, Angus Crichton on the edge, whether it's Ola Kawatu on the edge or a Hudson Young on the edge, a Jerome Luai stepping back and finding some lazy defenders, there aren't too many of those in Origin, getting quick ball to Steve Crichton so he's getting Brian To'o away. And I think Crichton and To'o will play together. I think they'll play on the left.
Yep.
I think that Suoli'i and Lomax will play on the right.
So 2 rookies on the same side.
2 rookies on the same side, outside Nicho Hynes. I think that's where Queensland will be coming.
That's Martin's side, though, defensively?
That's Martin's side defensively, who is very experienced. But, tactically there's something here for both sides. I think that New South Wales will be keen to try and forge a passage in the middle of the field. I think they'll try and wear down in around the ruck area with Reece Robson and Payne Haas and Trebojevic and these fellas trying to forge a passage there so that we can get to the left side of the field with Jerome Luai and trying to attack their right-hand side of the field with Nanai and Daly Cherry-Evans. But by the same token, New South Wales have got some targets too. They're going to have to work very well with their defensive system to contain Reece Walsh and Hamiso Tabuai-Fadai and Tommy Dearden. Tommy Dearden's a great short side player. Wonderful short side player.
Yeah.
I shuddered the other night when we were interviewing Jonathan Thurston on 100% footy. He said he's been working closely with Tommy Dearden all week. I know what they've been doing. I can visualise it. I can just visualise it. He'll look up on the short side and he'll see Suoli'i, he'll see Lomax, he might see Daly Cherry-Evans, or he might see a lazy forward where he's had a front rower that's had to come over and be in that area there to mark up. They'll be trying to get Liam Martin to make tackles, so a front rower's got to come around the short side. That's Jonathan Thurston time. That's Tommy Dearden time. A front rower standing alongside Cherry-Evans, standing alongside Suoli'i, standing alongside Lomax, and they're the inexperienced ones in the side. They'll be setting you up for that a lot. They'll set you up from the long side. They'll set you up from a short side. They'll set you up from a play the ball near the post. I think that'll be the big target area of Queensland, and I think it'll be a hell's job to contain them. So, geez, I'm talking myself out of it, aren't I?
Fair dinkum. But have you been told to talk the Blues down?
No.
Is this part of the strategy?
No.
You've been talking a match. Can I put to you?
Really, I haven't given this a lot of thought. I'm only sitting here saying this now.
You're talking to yourself with a microphone in front of you.
Yeah, I'm just saying if I was sitting down for the first day as a coach and looking at this team, all right, well, how will this game play? 90% of it is just head it up and kick. Go forward, control the ball, kick, chase, tackle.
Can I put to you that the New South Wales X Factor is the bench?
Potentially, yeah. there's no doubt that Olakau'atu and Young are. And if
Lenu.
And if Lenu can be used in short stints, so I can see him 10 or 12 minutes before half-time and 10 or 12 minutes after half-time, and that's a crucial period of the game, and then maybe back for the last 10 minutes, I can see that being a factor. There seems to be enough coverage there that he shouldn't have to play much more than that. I don't think they want him out there for any great length of time, but they're relying on the fact that that's how he best plays his game, whether it be Panthers in grand finals or whatever, used in short bursts, and he's very, very powerful. He can make things happen. Hudson Young is, I believe, their outside back. If they get an injury in the outside backs, problem. I don't care if Hudson Young's done it 100 times. He's a forward. Simple as that. He's not an outside back at origin level.
Especially against the blistering pace of the centres there.
And if something happens to Nicho, or something happens to Jerome Luai, or something happens to our fullback, we can't replace that. All right? It's no good saying, all right, well, Cameron McGuinness played halfback for Sharks against Storm. He can't play halfback in Origin and have an effect. I don't care who he is. All right, we've got no coverage in the halves, and we don't have adequate coverage in the outside backs. Touch wood, we don't need it. The game goes swimmingly, and we don't need it. But I'm just saying, we don't have the coverage for it.
Crikey, I'm in the fetal position here.
Why?
Well, I'm starting to think Queens are going to win by 30.
No.
Not that I care. I want an arm wrestle, baby.
It's not a start. Well, that's the team they've picked. They've picked the team for an arm wrestle.
To win 13-12.
They've picked the team to win. Well, my problem is if they get the 12 first, as what happened in game 1 last year. If they get the 12 first, we've got a hell's own job to try and drag that back. Now, maybe our tries will come for the crossfield kick to Lomax, a crossfield kick to Suaalii. You can see they're two of the best kick chasers and kick jumpers in the game. So that's going to be one way we can get a try. Crichton and Tuot with their Panthers experience playing outside Luai on the left, I think that's how they'll measure up, and that would have been handy with Dylan Edwards coming out of the back. Tedesco, well, he can do it too. And they'll be looking to play down that side as well. It's an interesting tactical, and as I said, tactically, I haven't even looked at this until I've sat here now looking at the two-team list and say, well, these would be my first thoughts as a coach sitting down saying, well, what are their strengths? What are their perceived weaknesses? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? If the game looks like this is going to be good. If the game looks like that, well, that's not going to look so good, but this might be a strength. Both teams will want the game to be played their way. I think Queensland have the ability to play the game a couple of ways. I think New South Wales have the ability to play the game one way. And if it's not played that way, then New South Wales could find themselves in a little bit of trouble.
All right, well, on the basis of the last 45 minutes, clearly you're tipping Queensland. By how?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. New South Wales by 1.
13-12.
It's going to be very exciting. Might even be Golden Point.
Might
even be Golden Point.
Please.
It'll have to be a Nicho Hynes field goal. Now, that's the other thing too. I don't think there's anyone else in our team that's ever kicked a field goal. Oh, Steve Crichton has. He kicked one for Samoa one time. Queensland have got some options there. Look, I think there is greater coverage in the Queensland side, and I think Queensland's side will be more adaptable if the game's not going their way. I think Queensland will be more adaptable. With New South Wales, I think the game has to be played the way they want the game to be played, and that will be just imposing their will to get the game that they want. In Sydney, on a wet surface, they can certainly do that. They can get that. They can win this game 13-12 or 19-18.
7-6.
1-0. Who cares? Who cares?
It's going to be a low scorer. If New South Wales win, it's going to be a graft.
Well, I think if Queensland score 20, they'll be winning.
Yeah, okay.
I don't see 20 points in the Blues at the moment. You would have to get a try out of a kick chase from Lomax, a try out of a kick chase from Suaalii. Jerome Luai would have to do something brilliant, and maybe the combination with Luai and Crichton can produce something for Brian To'o. I don't know. James Tedesco, Olakau'atu close to the line. Hudson Young, he hits holes really well. There are only a limited number of ways that New South Wales can score, where I can see any number of ways that Queensland might do it. Having said that, I think New South Wales look much stronger defensively to me. They look more like the grinding side than the Queensland side. But, it is Origin.
There you go. That's Gus's thoughts.
So I've just confused everyone, haven't I?
Well,
New South Wales by 1.
that's the beauty of Origin, baby. We don't know what's going to happen. New South Wales with a chance to seal the Women's Origin series in Newcastle. I think it's fabulous that it's sold out, Gus. I mean, it was always going to be sold out in Newcastle, but it's been sold out for a week.
Well, we called on the Newcastle people and they've responded. Absolute sellout. That's brilliant. And just typifies again, or amplifies again just how big the women's game has become. Sellout crowd, standalone, Thursday night, primetime television, game 2 in the Origin of a 3-game series. New South Wales 1 up, chance to win the series. Queensland fighting spirit, trying to level it up so they go back to Townsville in 3 weeks' time and try to win a decider. As broadcasters and rugby league fans, we probably want to see a decider.
100%.
That's what set everything up. But by the same token, the blue in me says, I don't care about that, and I want New South Wales to win. But well done to the New South Wales people, the Newcastle people, in supporting this game, certainly with numbers at the game, and it'll rate big on Thursday night as well. You're going to couple of nights without sleep for a lot of people.
Oh, my word. And I think the feature of the women's game from Suncorp was that there was it is Origin-style passion from the players and the fans. The fans are embracing it as Origin football. Yep. Regardless of who's playing it. Queensland have made a few changes, Gus. Now they've dropped the halfback.
Yeah.
So Ali Brigginshaw's gone from lock to 7. Now, Lauren Brown, who is very versatile, moves to the centres. Zahara Tamara's made way, gone back to the extended reserves. And Kylie Hilda, the New South Wales coach, has named an unchanged team, which, as you know, is invaluable in Origin football.
Yeah, well, they obviously had a brilliant preparation leading into Game 1. These girls hadn't played competitive rugby league for a number of weeks, but put a lot of time and effort into their camp for 6 weeks leading into Game 1. It was thought that the Maroons would have more game fitness and touch on their side because they've been playing in the local Queensland and overage competition up there in Queensland, but New South Wales blew them away early, defended the points and came away with a good win. I like the move of Ali Brigginshaw back to 7 for Queensland. I think that will give them far greater focus and their best player with their hands on the ball most of the time. Her and Taryn Aiken and Tamika Upton, the 7, 6 and 1, create a real... And Destiny Brill too, the 9. That's 9, 7, 6 and 1. That's a hell of a spine. And they've got the athleticism out wide. I think they'll be more laser focused. I think that New South Wales caught them by surprise a little bit in Game 1. They're well prepared this time. They'll know what's coming. And New South Wales have got to put Game 1 behind them and not just look at what happened, but what might have happened. Where could have things gone wrong, or where could have Queensland changed, because Queensland will, and get the job done again. Having said that, it's a strong-looking, very strong-looking New South Wales side. Emma Tonegata, Corbin Baxter, Rachel Pearson, Olivia Higgins as the spine there. Keely Davis at 13 is an interesting selection for me there. Kezi Apps, it's a strong side and great work ethic, and they really thumped Queensland, like physically thumped them in Game 1.
It's a strong pack.
Some of their defence was brutal. It really was, and with that big Newcastle crowd behind them, I'm hoping for a 2-0 leading onto a 3-0 whitewash is where my head is at the moment, girls. So let's see if we can get it done. I love the centre pairing, Isabel and Jessica.
Stars. Absolutely
stars of the game. And Jamie Chapman, crikey, if we can see another long-range try from her.
What about that?
That'll be a thrill. She was brilliant. Tiana Penatani, good side. But we've been watching these girls develop for a number of years, New South Wales and Queensland, but I'm really looking forward to the clash. I can't wait to get up to Newcastle to call it.
All right, Blues to win?
Blues to win.
You've never not tipped New South Wales.
Well, I'm never not going to tip New South Wales.
That's right.
That's a silly question.
He bleeds blue, my man. Yeah. So it's Origin week, exclusively live and free here on 9 and 9 now. 7 o'clock, the coverage starts from Accor Stadium, Sydney, tomorrow for New South Wales, Queensland and the men, and then 7:45 kickoff in the women's game up in Newcastle in front of a ravenous home crowd. And I have to say, if you were ever going to go anywhere in New South Wales to try and wrap up the series, you're going to Newcastle.
Yeah.
That's where you want to be.
Yeah. I think it's perfect.
Do you know what? They might throw cans at the Queensland bus. Old style.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Get Andrew Johns to go and wet the Queensland dressing rooms, and take all the soap out of the showers, take all the toilet paper out of the toilets, all the things he used to do when he was a Newcastle player there.
Indeed. All right, Gus, I'll see you out there tomorrow.
This year, NRL on 9 is your one-stop shop for all footy.
That's right, Freddie. Not about the highlights, action, 7 days a week.
Billy and Gus podcast, get that on your drive on the way home. Immortal Behaviour, grab a seat on the couch for that. And of course, my favourite, Freddie in the Own.
The best footy brains, the biggest games.
Don't trust the algorithm, subscribe to NRL on 9 and get all your entertainment there.